On your left.
It was amazing, yes. It felt like relatively early on in the lockdown and the pandemic that clip from inside the audiences at Avengers Endgame, first theatrical run, went viral. And the people cheering for the on your left moment and when the portals opened up. It was wonderful because it reminded me of Endgame and of the year before. I think I was in one of those theaters where that was where somebody had recorded that. So that feeling was very special. But coming in the midst of this pandemic, when we had spent so much time in our homes, not surrounded by other people, it was a wonderful reminder of community and of a shared experience. And certainly we've all shared the pandemic experience apart, but that clip did take on, I think, new meaning, even for me personally during down last year. Not just a memory of the year before and the wonderful achievement that the Russo brothers and our entire cast and everybody at Marvel Studios pulled off with Endgame, but a promise of the future and of being in a theater again and having a shared experience like that someday in the future. I think it gave us hope.
Avengers!
Every time we make a film, it is with the expectation of delivering on a promise, delivering on a promise of a experience to be experienced together in a theater, and seeing where people laugh or seeing where people get very quiet and still, or where people cheer, if we should be so lucky, in moments in the movie. That is, we spend years and years trying to work up to those moments and being in a theater and seeing it happen. There's nothing better. So every decision we make is from the point of view of sitting in a crowded theater, experiencing the story. A lot of choosing what characters, what stories become a feature film first, what become a Disney Plus series. It's still, frankly, early days for that. So we're still having those discussions. What you see now in phase 4 is still the culmination of work 5 or 6 years, in the case of Shang-Chi, 10 or 15 years in the past. So we had been working towards a Shang-Chi movie for many, many years, towards a Black Widow movie, as everybody knows, for many, many years. So those were always set on as films of what we wanted them to be. When Bob Iger told us about Disney Plus and about his desire for us to produce shows for Disney Plus, it gave us a new avenue, frankly, to do something we hadn't been considering before, which was really doing a deep dive on characters who deserve a deep dive but hadn't had the chance yet. It took us 4 or 5 films to tell even a tiny story of Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. Same thing with Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes. It's a testament to those characters and particularly to those actors that the audience fell in love with them in what really amounted to a relatively short amount of screen time in a handful of films. But we knew they were being underutilized, both the characters and the actors, and we really wanted to have a showcase to show off how amazing those characters are and how amazing those actors are, and certainly Tom Hiddleston as Loki as well, and also to do it in a way, in a new medium, and do it in a way that we couldn't be done in a feature film.
Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha all along.
Who's been pulling every evil
I think we've always at Marvel Studios tried to swing for the fences on every project, treat every project like it was our last. Like when we were making Iron Man 1, if that hadn't worked, it would have been our first and last movie that Marvel Studios made. And when the choice of Robert Downey Jr. came up, it really felt make or break. It really felt like we have nothing to lose because we're not a studio yet anyway. And if we only have one chance to do it, we want to do it right. And even though he hadn't been a marquee star before, he was an incredible, incredible actor. And we were very lucky that he wanted to do it. So every decision since then has kind of been treated the same of how do we swing for the fences? How do we do something unique? How do we, as I said earlier, meet or exceed expectations? But oftentimes that's by subverting those expectations and selfishly keeping ourselves entertained. I'm going on my 21st year at Marvel Studios. The majority of our team has been together 10 years, 15 years. And we want to do all different types of stories and make all different types of films and now series. So with Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange and Shane Black's Iron Man 3 and Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok, we've always tried to bring in new, unique voices, and Ryan Coogler's Black Panther. It goes on and on. With the Disney Plus series, we've been able to do that, but within a new medium. So suddenly, instead of just riffing off of cinematic genres, we could go into the specifics of TV. Procedurals like Loki is a bit of an homage to, and certainly and most clearly with WandaVision in the sitcom tropes.
Oh, hello, dear. I'm Agnes, your neighbor to the right. My right, not yours. Forgive me.
Kathryn Hahn has been a phenomenon long before WandaVision. We were all fans of hers at Marvel Studios, and she had come in for a general meeting, coincidentally, right around the time we were trying to cast Agnes/Agatha. And it was one of those, why didn't we think of this before? We met with Kathryn Hahn today. She was great. Ludi Esposito actually sat down and had a general with her. And it very quickly went from that, she's great. What could she do for us someday? Anyway, who's going to play Agatha? We really got to cast this part. Wait a second. It was honestly almost exactly like that. Seeing audiences respond for characters to characters that they were not expecting or that they were not asking for. I wouldn't say there was a huge contingency of people banging down the door for Agatha Harkness to appear in the MCU. But she's a great character portrayed by a great actress. And by the first few episodes, people are asking, where is she going to show up again? What else is she going to do? I think the same thing's happening right now with John Walker from the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and certainly with Mobius, as portrayed by Owen Wilson in the Loki series. So that is something that is so important to the MCU, is including new characters. The comic is filled with many lifetimes of spectacular characters. And when you find the best actors to portray them, it can quickly go from an audience never hearing of a character to them upset with us that we haven't already announced their own standalone movie. And that makes us all very happy.
This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
The supernatural sorcery with Doctor Strange, which you saw not only in his movie, but in Infinity War and Endgame, and explaining the powers that we'd seen Wanda have throughout the movies, now having this connection to witchcraft and magic. Again, right from the Marvel comics, it's always been there. It's fun to be able to figure out a way to bring more of that into the MCU.
That's the Black Falcon there, I tell you.
Nah, that's Captain America.
Of primary importance was allowing Anthony Mackie to show the full range of what Anthony Mackie can do. Such an amazing actor. And same thing with Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. But when old man Steve Rogers handed the shield to Sam Wilson at the end of Endgame, you could see a complexity in Anthony's performance there. Old man Cap says, how does it feel? And Sam says, like it belongs to somebody else. And old man Steve says, doesn't. It's yours. And that it wouldn't be that simple. It wouldn't be that simple for anyone to step into those shoes that Steve Rogers had worn, but particularly for Sam Wilson, wearing the red, white, and blue in America would be complex. And that is what we were interested in exploring. That's what Anthony was interested in exploring. Our fellow producers, Zoe and Nate Moore. And thankfully, when Malcolm Spellman, our head writer, came on, is really when all of that turned into the series that you saw. A series that he had written with his writing staff before the pandemic. We'd started shooting that before lockdown, so in 2019. And some people have asked, were you surprised that it become even more relevant after 2020, what we've gone through? And certainly what Malcolm says is, well, it was relevant in 2019 as well. It's been relevant for hundreds of years, which is exactly correct. And figuring out a way to both wear the red, white, and blue with pride and acknowledge the past at the same time seemed like a interesting needle to thread, and one that we needed filmmaker like Kari Skogland and a writer like Malcolm Spellman and his team to pull off.
Is that funny?
The idea that your little club decides the fate of trillions of people across all of existence at the behest of 3 space lizards, yes, it's funny. It's absurd.
I thought you didn't like to talk.
Well, I think everything we do, I hope, are building blocks towards the bigger MCU, while actually just being entertaining pieces of art in and of themselves. The Loki series explores an organization that we've been obsessed with for years at Marvel Studios from the comics, called the Time Variance Authority. And honestly, 15, 20 years ago, going, this is a great idea. I wonder if we could ever do something with this. And honestly, thinking it was a pipe dream that would never come to fruition. Avengers was a pipe dream 20 years ago. And now that we have this series that our producer Kevin Wright and our director Kate Herron and our head writer Michael Waldron and executive producer Steve Broussard have taken the TVA conceit that we've loved so much and turned it into an entirely different way of looking at the MCU and looking at the timeline of the MCU. And yes, the potential of alternate realities that we've heard whispers of from the Ancient One and from other characters in a few of our movies, but actually being able to explore it and try to understand it in a, again, rather subversive way, in a very bureaucratic organization that may or may not be telling the truth about the way things work. In a character's, the title character also being someone who you shouldn't necessarily take at face value and is perhaps the most famous trickster or god of mischief that there is.
Variant L1130, aka Loki Laufeyson, is charged with sequence violation 72089. How do you plead?
Madam, a god doesn't plead.
Tom is as great an actor as they come. He's as charismatic a person as there is, but he also honestly loves that he's been given this chance, and that from the moment we hired him with Ken Branagh on the first Thor film to the response that episode 3 got the other week when it debuted on Disney Plus, Tom is just as enthusiastic from that first call to each episode of Loki coming out. And that is so important. I think all of us at Marvel Studios try to maintain that enthusiasm and acknowledgement and humility of how lucky we are to be in this position. And Tom can take that with his immense amount of talent and really rally a crew behind him as well, which is what he did on that show. So one of the other things that personally is so exciting about continuing a franchise for this long is getting to evolve your relationship with the cast. Tom started as an actor that Ken Branagh knew, who, as people may know, famously auditioned not for Loki but for Thor. Then, felt very thankful to get this job as Loki. I now find myself thankful that he said yes, and that he is an executive producer on this Loki series and is helping us make this series what it is. So relationships evolving over the years is one of the other great pleasures of working with spectacular talents like that. And that's true on films like Black Widow that Scarlett Johansson was a producer on with us as well, and all of the Disney Plus series.
You're a prince. Must have been would-be princesses, or perhaps another prince.
A bit of both.
Representation is important across the board, and the comics has charted charts the path in almost all ways for what we do in the MCU. And in the comics, there are many LGBTQ characters, and we want to showcase that on the screen as well. We want to bring those characters to life on the screen. We also, as Stan Lee used to say, Marvel represents the world outside your window. And outside of our window, there are all different types of people in all different types of places with all different types of preferences, and we want that reflected in the MCU and in our in our fictional world as it is in our real world. So it is of utmost importance that when people go in and see one of our films or log on to Disney Plus and watch one of our series, that it represents the true world outside their window when it comes to the types of people portraying the heroes and the characters.
I got you! No!
Scarlett Johansson is just the perfect representation of an amazing actor lending their talents to our stories for a decade. That is an amazing privilege, and one that we don't ever take for granted. She was nominated for 2 Academy Awards in 1 year a few years ago. She is spectacular and could do whatever she wants. That she chooses to continue to work and to bring Natasha Romanoff to life is a testament, I think, to the character of Natasha and how rich she is in the comics and how much more there was to explore, and a testament to Scarlett, who likes bringing these complex characters to life. So it really is kind of a perfect representation of when you find a perfect actor willing to dedicate their talents to an amazing character from publishing, that you can go 10 years on and be on the verge of their first standalone movie, and thankfully our first movie in a theater in almost 2 years that I just can't wait for people to see in a theater on Disney Plus if they want, but to get out there and see what Scarlett and the entire team has done.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
Florence is amazing and came in and won the part of Yelena. Yelena is the character that's been in the comics for many years now, and a character that we'd wanted to bring to the screen for quite a while. Soon after we cast her, I think she was nominated for Little Women, which was amazing. And again, like Scarlett, being able to traverse these worlds of classic literature like Little Women, and moving over to what we consider also classic literature of the Marvel Comics, and do both with equal import and with equal pouring of their heart and soul into it, which everybody, all of our filmmakers and our writers and the entire team Marvel Studios do. Florence did that tremendously well, and like some of the other characters we've talked about today, yes, the very first question that often comes out of people seeing Black Widow for the first time is, when will Florence Pugh show up again in the MCU? And my answer to that is always not soon enough, because she's amazing. Another testament to Scarlett, who knew exactly the movie that we were making, who was a part of the development of the movie, to make that film an ensemble and to surround herself with new characters portrayed by new actors entering the MCU and allowing them all to shine. And knowing that lifting them up lifts up the whole movie, which is what a smart producer does, which Scarlett is. So it is great. So every compliment that Florence or David or Rachel or OT get on the movie, I also turn back to Scarlett for being so smart to allow the film to be a showcase for multiple characters, which is what the best of our films can do.